Hey, this is Paul. Welcome to the Mountain Man Chronicles. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to dive even deeper into our line of tread videos. How to use the Garmin Tread to plan a trip. How do you use it to work within the trip? So I'm going to cover a little bit on how you use the website, my procedure on using the website, my procedure on using the app, my procedure on creating a route. I've done a number of trips in the Garmin Tread, and I hope to alleviate the confusion, the navigation on how to load GPX files, how to create a navigation, and plan a trip by using the Tread app, Tread website, and the Garmin Tread itself. Because I do believe it is a combination of three to easily make a trip. Each one has good, each one has bad, and each one has ugly. And I plan on talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly to these, and hopefully give you some tidbits along the way. So I hope you remember to enjoy the video.
Welcome to the Mountain Man Chronicles, where the spirit of adventure comes alive. I'm thrilled to have you join our journey into the great outdoors. I'm Paul Piazza. I'm your guide through the wilderness and the storyteller behind the Mountain Man Chronicles. I hope you share in our love and appreciation of what this great world has to offer. Here we live in three simple principles: live, learn, and explore. Live, immerse yourself in the thrill of the moment, whether it be overlanding, exploring unique ghost towns, or simply enjoying the serenity of nature. We believe in living life to its fullest. Learn, cultivate that childlike curiosity. Every adventure is an opportunity to learn and discover something new. From overlanding trips to mastering trail navigation, we're a constant journey of learning and growing. Explore. Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Venture into the unknown. Our chronicles are a testament to the places we've been and the stories waiting to be untold. Join us as we explore the hidden trails to the pristine lakes and the mysterious places this great nation has to offer. And of course, what adventure would be successful without proper planning and the right gear? We'll be showcasing some of the tools of the trade along our journeys. I truly hope you enjoy our chronicles and the journey that my wife and I travel through during our overlanding adventures. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so we're looking at the Garmin map and we're zooming in on some different trails that we have. So what we're seeing here initially is a trail that I have planned. This trail is the Nebraska trip. Now, a couple key things to point out. These little eyeballs will save you a lot of key times in this, right? So like I have all my messages off, and you can turn off waypoints if you want. You'll see all the waypoints will disappear. You can turn off tracks, routes, and other applications in this. So the good is there's a lot of flexibility in here. The bad is the learning curve really is a pain. You'll see here, this is a trip I have planned to Nebraska, and you'll see here when I come down to Nebraska, the Oregon Trail trip of 25, it's a trip we're going to take. And as I zoom in, you'll see these are different ghost towns. And if you zoom out, you'll see that these ghost towns combine. So some of these are ghost towns, some of these are camp areas. For example, there's a wildlife refuge, there's a camp out here, here's a ghost town, there's some camps here, some other waypoints I've saved along the way. So what I do typically when I'm planning out a trip is I'll go through and I'll plot waypoints as I see different things. So as I get time during the day, I'll come and say, okay, show me some ghost towns in this area, and I'll find a ghost town and I'll come in and I'll go in and paste in the GPS coordinates up here and save it. So like if you look at Wanamaker, I put one there for Cary. These are on South Dakota. And so I plot out a whole bunch of different waypoints. As you can see, there's a number here in Nebraska. When I started, there was nothing. So you'll see here in our Nebraska ghost town route, there is 15 waypoints. They're all showing up on the screen right now because I have this open. Now I can add others, there is 70 waypoints. My mistake. 15 in the one that's closed, 70 here. 70 waypoints in here of various other things. As I find different things, I can add some more. You'll see here that adds a few by turning that on. So I'll place them all in one area, then I'll place them in a trip. So that's the first thing I do is I go organize and I find things, I put it on the web. Why do I do that? Because one of the uglies about Garmin's web app is routing on it just is a frugal waste of time. Do not do it. I will tell you in advance, Do not route on it. Place your waypoints, start to kind of write out where you want to go and figure out as you go. It'll save you a lot of time. Now, what you can do is if you're interested and you want to load a route, you could do that. And so loading a route is fairly easy within the application of using Garmin. Now, loading a route, you can do multiple things. One, you can import a route. So let's try importing a route real quick. Import a route, you have to go up here to the right-hand side, and you'll see here, this will say import or export. So if I want to import a route, we'll see here, and you'll be seeing some routes today. I'll explain what they are. If you want to copy these routes, I'll happily share them, or if you see a route on here, say, hey, Paul, that Nebraska trip is cool. I don't mind sharing some of the routes that I've created. I don't mind. I just appreciate you watching the video so I could show you. All right, so the difference between a track and a route. Route is fewer data points. The lines are a little bit more choppy, easier to find, harder to manipulate, don't work as well in the tread. Tracks, more data points, work better in there. You can do either or. Some of the older systems won't recognize tracks, will recognize routes. I personally use tracks most of the times, especially now that I have a tread. So then you have some other options. So we're going to do a tracks. You'll see it has to be a GPX, KML, or KMZ. Do we want to import them as an existing collection, being one of these collections, or do we want to create a new collection? For today's sake, we're going to create a new selection. You can share it on your map share page if you want to share it with others. I have a personal map share page. I may open it up eventually to Mountain Man Chronicles. I haven't really thought about it yet. The collection name, we're just going to call it test because I'm going to delete it because we're going to use something I've added before. So we're going to add that. We can add multiple collections. So if you want to import it to multiple, or you can just import it to the library, your choice. So the good thing is you can outline, that's what we're going to do today, is we're going to load a whole set into one thing called test. And we'll go to next. And then you either drag and drop your file here, or here we're going to go into a file that I have saved. I save all my GPX files into one area, and I've just kind of narrowed them out. So we're going to do, this is the trans US route, and so we'll hit import. Hopefully, if everything goes well, you see it has 167 waypoints, 13 tracks. Pretty big file. Looks like it worked into our test route. So now this will sync into here and also sync into the tread. So you're kind of taking a full route in your syncing and getting it done. It'll take a few minutes. We can close this. It's telling us to wait because Garmin website's slow. You'll see here it's giving us a sync required notice. So that also is something that you need to know. It'll take a few minutes to load depending on, they're having a minor service outage today. So we'll see how well this loads. Getting another wait message. All right, you'll see here, so it recorded the route. It's all in here. This will sync over to the Garmin. So you can easily load up a route if you want. So if you want to load up a route like this, and then say I'm going up in here and I'm planning to go and I want to add my other waypoints, you could do that. So using the Garmin app, you can load a route. You can easily load a GPS tracks. Now, I will warn you on some things that I found about loading GPS tracks. First of all, not all of them work. Some of them, if they have more than 10,000 points or it's just too big of a file, will have problems. What I'll typically do there is there are some GPX file manipulators, if you will. You can lower the number of tracks and adjust it. That works well. I'll put some links down below to help you with that. And or it could be a corrupt GPX file. Now, I'll warn you, when I first got my Garmin Tread, I loaded a corrupt GPX file and it screwed up everything. So I had to go figure out one by one through a process of elimination what the GPX file is. And you could see that I have quite a few routes and tracks in my Garmin that I use. So, that could create a problem if you're not careful. So be very careful when you're loading GPX routes from unknown resources. Because there's a lot. So if you look at like my South Dakota route here, where is it? South Dakota, the Trans-South Dakota route here, that was a GPX track. And you can see here it has a whole bunch of tracks in it. 85 waypoints. Here's another one, Part B, 110 waypoints. And basically, it's an overland route through South Dakota. It's a beautiful route. So those are a couple ways to load it over the web. Next, we're going to go into the actual Garmin Tread to use that to manipulate the route. All right, we're looking at my Tread app here. We're going to go to the Garmin Tread now after this. So using the Garmin Tread app, you can go in here and you can see your map, of course. You can see all the saved waypoints that you have. So I mark them all as viewed. And then here's all your waypoints, mark them all as viewed, and all your tracks. These are all tracks that we just recently loaded. Much like you did on the web, it's very much the same principle here. We'll see if it's synced up yet. We're looking for our test. Here's test 1. I don't think the other test is loaded yet. Let's take a look. All right, now that it took a sync, and that took roughly about 3 minutes to sync. If you're looking by the clock over here, we started about 3 or 4 minutes ago. It finally came through. So you'll see here test 1 and test 2. The app seems to be having some issues today. And you'll see here everything we want to see here, and the waypoints are all in here, and the tracks. So everything is there. We could, if you want to download map layers and use this collection offline, you can. And you could share it. So if you want to send this to a buddy or not, you could do that too. So anybody asks me how, that's how I'm going to share it. All right, so let's close this. And we should be able to see this map by scrolling out. And, oh, I have multiple open. I'm not sure why the app is doing this. It's having an error. I got to go through and let's try that again. There's a link below if you want to learn how to do different things in the Tread app. I think the good is the organization and routing is really clear here. I actually like it. Took me a little bit to get used to, I'll admit that. But I like how they've split it up where you can look at here and you can look over here to see what you have going on, right? So if I want to see there, I can. Or if I want to see, hang on, exit without saving. If I want to see over here the different areas, I can. So I do like how it is organized. I like the routing. Although it's hard and it's small, I think that's a me issue and not an app issue. I think some of you may like how to route and do tracks in the app and create them yourself, right? The Snap 2 on tracks, it works really well here. Using the adventure, different options for adventure. If I want more adventurous, it can make a recommendation. I found it really easy to manipulate it. I actually tried doing it on my tablet. I actually like my tablet better for doing this. So I should have been presenting this on my tablet because I can create routes. I created my whole Nebraska trip. Actually, not the Nebraska trip, my end of the year trip using my tablet, sitting on the couch talking to my wife, right? So I have a trip coming up at the end of the trip, end of the year. That's my solo trip and I'm going out and about. So I did all that on a tablet using the Tread app. So I like the Tread app. Works really well. So again, ease of use is a big one. And then finding locations and finding that. You can do that here too by just putting in. But I found that I didn't like the way it presents the GPS coordinates because it gets chopped off sometimes in this. So I tend not to do that as much, but I do it. I have to admit that if I find something on the road, I'll mark it on this. I'll go in and I can place a point. So you can have it here and you can place it in real time. I love how they've outlined this, right? So you can come in and set up kind of really easy your different layers. And I like that it didn't get layer crazy like some of the other apps where it has like 100 billion layers. These layers are pretty easy to understand, pretty easy to use. You set them up and you can go, right? So I like that. You can also get to your collections from here too. So I love that, right? So as I mentioned earlier, I could do both. I can see my collections and I can see this. So if I want to see a layer, and I could save them easily if I want to. That's what this little saving thing is for offline. So they made it really easy to navigate on the app. I really like that. Now the ugly. The ugly on this is one of the things they miss. I bought the Garmin, of course, InReach version of the Overlander. There's no way to use the InReach through the Tread app. I think it's a major miss. Because I can't see in the communications. And if I load the Explorer app, I can't see, it screws up this app. They conflict. So don't lower the Explorer. That's an ugly. Don't load the Explorer app because you will interfere and cause corruption to your tread. I don't care what Garmin says. Every time I do it, it doesn't. I know multiple people have had this problem. So do not do that. If you're using Tread, just use Tread. Do not use the Explorer app because it will try to sync to both and it won't work and it'll screw everything up. They need to add the InReach to the Tread app. I don't understand why I bought a Garmin Tread with InReach and it doesn't show up on the Tread app. I think that's just ugly in my mind. I can't see any of the communication in one app. I don't want to use two apps. I want to use one app. So that's just my opinion. And even in the Messenger app, it doesn't work, right? So you either have to use the Explorer app. Now I have the Tread, I have the Explorer app, I have all these Garmin apps. I don't know what to use for what. Put it in one app, let it use in the Tread. If you have a Tread, let me do everything that's in the Tread app. That's just my 2 cents on that. So I think that's an ugly. And the sync can take up to 2 minutes. That's probably more of a bad than an ugly. I had it as an ugly here, but I don't really think it's an ugly. All right, here we are in the Tread. If you look at the linked video here in the corner, you'll see some basics on how to use the Tread. If you're interested in that, go look at the video. It'll kind of walk you through what the different screens are, where to, view map, all the other gadgets and widgets that go with it. So there's a couple different ways you can work on routing, right? So I can go into view map, I can go into here, and I can plan out my route or see some basic things from here. I can also go back and go into where to, right? So now I can go into where to, and if I know the waypoint, I can look up a waypoint. Now you have to know the waypoint's name to get there. That's the drawback with it, right? So I'm looking it up by waypoint. I can go into a collection though. Once my app replies here, so let's go into waypoints. Let's click on waypoints, go into collections, and we'll see here, these are my different collections, right? Let's see if tests made it over. So if we go into test 180 right there, you'll see it's open. So I can find my waypoints on this and make them all available, right? So now we just made it available, and there we go. Here's all from that collection, right? So this is all from that collection and test. I can also see here the tracks. I can see the waypoints. I can hit everything, right? So this is also showing on the screen. So let's say if we want to see the waypoints, if we want to go to waypoint 170, which is what we saw on the screen, I can go in here and type out 170, 170, 170, and there you go. That's going to take us right to where we were on our last one. If I want to hit go, we can see that. See, it's in test collection, so I know what collection it's in. I know the GPS coordinates, and I can hit go to just that waypoint. I can also change the adventure routing on here if I want to say, okay, I want this to be just total adventure. I want to do some off-roading. It's going to recalculate. It's going to take some time. But I can recalculate based on that and adjust my route to get there, right? So you can do that if you want to do it. Also, you could do it this way. You can also go into Explore and look at waypoints in a different way. So I'm in collections here because that's right where it takes you to. And if I want to go to the test collection, which is open, and I want to find 170, we're doing the same thing all over again. It's just a faster way of doing it if you want to do it this way. One of the things about the Tread is the learning curve is steep, but once you learn your way around the learning curve, it does get faster. And here we go, same spot. Got the collections, test, and that's the waypoint. We hit go, or I could hit share and share it from here. It's calculating route. I can change the adventure here if I want to, make it harder or easier. I can see what the weather is at that point. One of the things I really love about the Tread is to be able to see that. Now, let's say, and that's how you create a route to that. So if I know I'm going to start at one waypoint, if I want to create an adventure, I could start at waypoint 70 and tell myself to go to waypoint 69. It'll take a backtrack. Or if I want to say, hey, I want to start at waypoint 70 and remember how we saw that campground earlier called Buck Creek. I want to say, take me to Buck Creek. It'll create a route based on Buck Creek. All right, let's start with when you're planning and you're routing, the good, the bad, and the ugly of each. The I think is a good is the sync between one thing. You saw that I built it in the Tread website, the Explorer website, and it synced all three within 3 minutes. I think that's pretty good, and relatively, since it was such a pretty complicated trail, it synced pretty well. You just got to be patient with it and make sure that your GPS tracks or whatever you're loading in is really well. So I think the syncing across all three is a good thing. I will say on the website, I think the website itself, if you look at loading GPX files, as long as you make sure they're good GPX files, they're not exceeding the route limitations and they're not exceeding the tracks limitations, are also really good. It's great for GPX files. I know some people have responded to me. They're having a bear with GPX files. Again, I have a link down below. Most likely your GPX files need to be split into two. I've had to do that with some very big GPX files. And that even happens with other services where you have to split up the GPX files. Some of them have more bandwidth than others, but you do have to split them up. So I think it does a good job because I know that limitation. I've had to split them up. The last thing that I think is really good for the website is the ability to add in and it transfers all the way through the collections, right? So seeing those collections, being able to link those collections works really, really well. So I like the collections. I use them a lot with that. So I think the organization, a place to store it, a place where you can come back and view it anywhere and share your trips online is great for the web. Planning and executing a trip through the web is not a good thing. So we'll get to the ugly in a minute. I think with the website, the learning curve is a little less steep, so that's bad. Still got a bit of a learning curve because you got to learn to do with GPX files. As you saw, it's slow. It chugs along, but it still works. But I think that's bad too. I wish the syncing could be a little bit faster because it is sporadic, or at least have some signaling when it's communicated to your Tread app. Would be a recommendation if Garmin listens to this, is somehow to have a communication say sync is complete would be just very helpful. I'll tolerate the speeds if I know it's completed and then I can figure out the error from there. Not knowing if the sync is complete or if the file had a corruption or something happened, give me an error warning that I can go look and figure out why. I don't think that's asking too much for something I'm paying this much of a service for and this much of an application. So those are the bad. Then the ugly, I think the routing is horrendous on the website. I wish it could be as good as Onyx. I wish it could be as good as some of the other applications. So do not route. I'll tell you now on the website, it's terrible. It doesn't snap to the track. It's crap. So it's not even worth doing. So and that goes with creating tracks and routes, right? Just don't do it. That is the ugly. Stay away from that on the site itself. And last but not least, the Garmin Tread. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly in this. So let's start with the good. The good on this is the ease of getting the layers and collections. I can see all my different collections here, right? So if I want to see them on the map, I can. So if I don't want to see that right now, I can just go through and say, I don't want to see that on the map. I can go through all of them, right? So I want to see test. So you easily can get through all your different layers. And then you see your layers. And then you can customize your layers on what you want to see. I want to see stream maps. If I want to see points, I want to see burn zones, LTE coverage, points of interest, parcel, slope app, public lands, right? They've added a lot more here in the way of layers, right? So I have, as you can see here, different access. I can set up difficulties, make it really easy to see what I want to see in the layers. Campgrounds, what I find interesting is you have to zoom in more to see campgrounds like you do on the others. So if I zoom in a certain layer, the campgrounds will start showing up. But it's hit and miss on what layer you need to do. And then, how you get to different things. So up ahead places you can manipulate, move those around. So that's really, really cool. The layers I absolutely love. Routing from one place to another. So if I want to route from one place to another, creating the routes works really well. As I showed you earlier, I can go there and save. I can save a route. I can tell what category. I can tell it where to save it. And then I could choose how I want it to route. Do I want to be adventurous or do I want to be on roads? It does driving point to point routes really well with good graphics and the ability to see and turn by turn. I absolutely love that it does all that relatively simple. So I think routing it does really simple. The bad I think is the initial cost to get into Tread, still over $1,000. A lot of money for an application with hardware when you can go get a tablet now that has a GPS on it and set up Onyx. And Onyx continues to upgrade. So Onyx does have some benefits. I use Onyx still occasionally just because I like to see what other people are putting in there, and I use those routes. I have the advantage to have a little bit of extra cash flow to pay for things like Onyx, and have a Garmin. I love the Garmin. You can also sideload Onyx on the Garmin if you want to. I haven't done that yet on this one. I have sideloaded some apps, and I'll show you that briefly. And then the ability to share, as I demonstrated earlier, right? You can share an app, you can share different things that you want. And then on road, you can see it has a lot of information, which I love, like up ahead places, campgrounds. You can see your picnic site. This is a campground up here. So, seeing that as you're driving down the road, and it gives you interstate lane access if I want to go there, if I want to go to a picnic site. Having all that at my hands works really well. So, that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on how to create a route and how to use that. If you have questions, post them in the comments. I'll jump in, and if you're really stuck, there's been a couple people that have commented that I've jumped on the phone with or done a quick Zoom with to kind of walk them through how to do everything. I'm happy to do that. I've had a lot of good responses, a lot of good luck using the Garmin system. I really like it. Happy to answer any questions if I can. Hey, thank you for watching the Mountain Man Chronicles, and I hope this video was helpful. If you have questions while you're creating a route or creating a track and trying to set up a journey, ping me. I'm happy to help you out. I don't mind coming in and answering questions and assisting how I can how to use Garmin. I've been using it for a while. I've kind of gotten over the learning curve, although I still get stuck occasionally with it. But I can usually figure out 90% of the things with it. What I want to encourage you is to enjoy the journey. Remember to get out there and learn, have that childlike curiosity, and remember to explore. It's not about the destination, it's about the entire adventure. And thanks for watching Mountain Man Chronicles. Remember to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye bye.